food association. Unconditioned stimulus, food naturally triggers response. Food natural triggers. Unconditioned response, UCR. Salivation, natural reflex. Salivation, natural reflex response. Lard, neutral before the conditioning. बेल घंटी होता ने अपनी लाड़ा लाड़ा पड़ेगा. Salivation, salivation natural reflex. Conditions, conditioned response, unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned response. Food natural triggers response. Food response, food unconditioned salivation, natural reflex. Conditioned stimulus, bell neutral before conditioning. Neutral before conditioning. Conditioned response, salivation to bell after learning. Acquisition, initial stage of learning association. Initial stage of learning association. Initial stage of learning association. Extinction, CS presented without CS. Initial stage of learning association. Acquisition. Extinction, CS presented without use. Spontaneous recovery. Spontaneous recovery. Spontaneous recovery. Spontaneous recovery. Extinguish shear, reappears the rest. Extinguish shear, reappears after rest. Generalization, respond to similar stimuli, not just same stimuli. Discriminations, response only to specific CS, not similar. Classical conditioning in classroom. Anxiety to math due to past failure. Anxiety to math. Classical conditioning application. Phobia treatment, behavior therapy. Classical conditioning role of teacher. Create positive emotional association. Create positive emotional association. Role of teacher. Also application. Phobia treatment, behavior therapy. Conditioning in classrooms. Anxiety to math due to past failure. Conditioning limitation. Passive learner involuntary response. Passive learner involuntary response. Involuntary response. Conditioning for habit. Form good habits by pairing with reward. Conditioning for habit, for good habits. Conditioning limitation and passive learner involuntary response. Conditioning in emotions. Fear, joy, anxiety conditioning. Conditioning in emotion. Fear, joy, anxiety conditioning. Emotion. Example in school, bell start of class from good habit for pairing with reward. Limitation passive learner involuntary response. Passive learner involuntary response. Conditioning role teacher, creative positive emotional association. Phobia treatment, behavior therapy, conditioning applications. Classical conditioning education use reduce fear, create a positive climate, reduce fear. एजुकेशन हूँ रिड्यूस फियर भय कम करना. क्लास कंडीशनिंग वर्सेस ऑपरेंट. इनवॉलंटरी वर्सेस वॉलंटरी बिहेवियर. कंडीशनिंग ऑपरेंट. कंडीशनिंग फॉर क्लासरूम डिसिप्लिन, टीचर्स वॉइस अटेंशन. कंडीशनिंग इन आर्ट्स, प्रोडक्ट प्लस हैप्पी म्यूजिक. प्रोडक्ट. कंडीशनिंग फॉर टेस्ट अवर्सन, फूड प्लस इलनेस, अवॉइड फूड. टेस्ट अवर्सन, आर्ट्स प्रोडक्ट हैप्पी म्यूजिक. कंडीशनिंग कीवर्ड एसोसिएशन. एग्जाम्पल इन स्कूल, बेल स्टार्टअप क्लास. बेल स्टार्टअप क्लास. ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग, स्किनर. फाउंडर ऑफ बीएफ स्किनर. ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग. ऑपरेंट कंडीशन टाइप, लर्निंग बाय consequences for voluntary behavior. Consequences, results से learning. Reinforcement, increase the probability of behavior. Positive reinforcement, add pigeon stimulus. Positive reinforcement, stimulus, praise, reinforcement, positive reinforcement, add pleasant stimulus, praise, positive reinforcement, reinforcement increase probability of behavior. Skinner box, rat presses lever for food reward. Operant condition type, learning by the consequences, voluntary behavior. Behavior Skinner, operant conditioning. Negative reinforcement, remove unpleasant stimulus, stop noise. Reinforcement, punishment, decrease probability of behavior, decrease probability of behavior. Remove unpleasant stimulus, stop noise. Reinforcement, positive punishment, add unpleasant stimulus, scolding, गाली देना. Positive punishment, scolding. Negative punishment, remove pleasant stimulus, no recesses. No recess नहीं देना punishment. Shaping, reinforce successive approximation to target behavior. Shaping, reinforce successive approximation to target behavior. Successive approximation to target behavior. Shaping, successive approximation to target behavior. Chaining, link series of behaviors into sequence. Link series of behavior. Chaining, shaping, reinforce successive approximation to target behavior. Target behavior, reinforce successive approximation. Shaping, chaining link series of behavior into sequence. Behavior, stimulus, behavior. Schedule of reinforcement, fixed ratio, variable ratio, interval. Fixed ratio, variable ratio. Fixed ratio, variable ratio, interval. Continuous reinforcement, every response reinforced, last learning. Fixed ratio, schedule for reinforcement, fixed ratio, variable ratio, interval. Extinction in operand, no reinforcement, behavior stops. No reinforcement, behavior stops. Schedule of reinforcement, fixed ratio, variable ratio, interval. Continuous reinforcement, every response reinforced, fast learning. Every response reinforced. Intermittent reinforcement, partial slow learning but durable. Intermittent reinforcement. Operant conditioning in classroom. Token economy start chart. Operant conditioning application, behavior modification, classroom. Intermittent reinforcement, partial. Operant conditioning role of teacher. Arrange, behavior modification classroom. Arrange contingencies. Reinforcement, reinforce teacher. Conditioning limitation, ignore cognition, increasing motivation. Ignore cognition, increasing motivation. Operant conditioning for habit, reward good study habit. Reward a good study habit. Consequences. Operant condition keyword. Consequences. Operant conditioning adds byproduct get reward. Byproduct get reward. Operant conditioning educational use increase participation. Disruption. Operant condition educational use increase participation. Operant condition in arts byproduct get reward. Condition keywords consequences, discipline, remove privilege for misbehavior. Example: student completes SW gets sticker. Operant condition for habit, reward good study habit. Ignores cognition, increasing motivation. Condition teacher arrange contingencies, limitation, ignore cognition, but increasing motivation. Habit, reward good study habit. Example conditioning: student complete HW gets sticker for discipline, remove privilege for misbehavior. Keyword consequences. Conditioning in arts byproduct get reward. Conditioning educational use increase participation, reduce disruption. Conditioning educational use increase participation, reduce disruption. Reduce disruption. Social learning theory founder Albert Bandura. Social learning theory founder. Type observation learning modeling. Bandura Bobodol experiment. Children Bobodol learning modeling. Bobodol experiment children imitate aggressive adult model को imitate aggressive. Learning process attention, retention, reproduction, motivation. Learning process attention, retention, reproduction, motivation. Attention, notice model behavior. Retention, remember behavior mentally. Attention, notice model behavior. Reproduction, ability to perform behavior. Retention, remember behavior mentally. Attention, notice model behavior. Motivation, incentive to imitate. Vicarious reinforcement. See model reward imitate. Vicarious punishment. Incentive to imitate. Vicarious reinforcement. Incentive to imitate. Reproduction. Ability to perform behavior. Retention. Remember behavior mentally. Social learning process: attention, retention, reproduction. Attention, notice model behavior. Retention, remember behavior mentally. Attention, notice model behavior. Social learning process: attention, retention, reproduction, ability to perform behavior. Motivation, incentive to imitate. Vicarious reinforcement. See model reward imitate. See model reward imitate. See model reward imitate. See model punished, avoid behavior. Vicarious reinforcement. See model reward imitate. Social learning classroom. Teacher is also role model. Peer learning. Remember behavior mentally. Notice model behavior. Model attention. Social learning process: attention, retention, reproduction, motivation. And social learning teacher. it's a social learning. Not all observe behavior imitated. Behavior imitated. No at all. Ekdam. Observe behavior imitated. Not imitated. Not copy. Learning. Social learning. Role of teacher. Demonstrate model behavior. Demonstrate. Learning application. Character education. Anti-bullying. Learning classroom. Teacher is as role model. Peer learning. See model punished. Avoid behavior. Vicarious reinforcement. See model rewarded. Imitate. Social learning for aggression. Media violence influence behavior. Media violence influence behavior. Students see peer praised. Imitate. A media violence influences behavior. Social learning example. Student sees peer praised. Imitate. Media violence influence behavior. Student sees peer praised. Imitates. Learning for pro-social behavior. Model sharing helping. Model sharing helping. Social learning keyword. Observation. Social learning versus classical. Cognitive plus social plus automatic response. Cognitive plus social versus automatic response. Media violence. Media violence influence behavior. Social learning example. Student sees peer praise and imitates. Student sees peer praise imitates. Media violence influence behavior. Student sees peer praise imitates. Social learning for pro-social behavior. Model sharing helping. Actually, observation keyword. Model sharing helping. Observation. Social learning versus classical. Cognitive. Social automatic response. Social learning plus operant. Observational versus directional. Direct reinforcement. TV, YouTube model behavior. Learning gender roles. Learn roles from parents. Media violence influence behavior. Media violence influence behavior. Learning example. Student sees peer praise imitates. Learning for proposal behavior. Model sharing helping. Word keyword observation. Classical cognitive plus social versus automatic. Automatic reinforcement. Media TV YouTube models behavior. Gender roles. Learn roles from parents. Learn roles from parents. Peers gender roles. Classroom management. Peer leaders positive models. Peer leader positive model. Classroom management. Learning for self-efficacy. Belief in own capability. Learning educational use. Peer tutoring. Collaborative learning. Social learning educational use. Peer tutoring. Collaborative learning. Belief in own capability. Educational use. Peer tutoring. Collaborative. Self-efficacy and belief in own capability. Classroom management. Peer leader positive models. Gender roles and learn roles from parents. Peers. TV, YouTube, model behavior. Gestalt education use. Promote understanding, transfer of learning. Gestalt for classroom design. Clear, organized, meaningful layout. Gestalt. Gestalt for memory. Organize info into meaningful wholes. Gestalt in problem solving. Restructure problem to see solution. Gestalt in language. Understand sentence meaning, not words alone. Gestalt in math. Understand concept, not just procedure. Gestalt versus behaviorism. Cognitive holistics versus stimulus response. Behaviorism. Math. Understand concept, not just produce procedure. Language. Understand sentence meaning, not words alone. Problem solving. Restructure problem to see solution. Gestalt for memory. Organize info into meaningful wholes. Classroom design. Clear, organize, meaningful layout. Classroom design. Problem solving. Restructure problem to see solution. Language. Understand sentence meaning, not words alone. Math. Understand concept, not just procedure. Behaviorism. Cognitive holistic versus stimulus response. Cognitive holistics, not stimulus. Insight. Keyword. Example. Students suddenly understand fraction concept. Limitations. Less emphasis on practice drill. Role of teacher. Present a whole before parts. Show relationships. Present a whole before parts. Application. Concept mapping. Meaningful learning. Foreground. Distinguish object from background. Distinguish object from background. Figure ground. Distinguish object from background. Closure. Fill gaps to perceive complete figure. Figure ground. Distinguish object from background. Gesture application. Concept mapping. Meaningful learning. Present a whole part before parts. So relationships. Perceive smooth continuous pattern. Closure. Fill gaps to perceive complete figure. Figure ground. Distinguish object from background. Proximity. Object close together perceive as group. Close together group. Similarity means similar object perceive as group. Continuity perceive smooth continuous patterns. See relationship pattern structure. Cheap experiment. Sultan uses. Initial learning. Problem solved suddenly, not trial error. Learning. Gestalt learning. Insight learning. Sudden understanding. Initial learning. Principle. Whole is more than sum of parts. Gestalt's theory founder Max Wertheimer, Wolfgang Kohler. Whole pattern configuration. Whole is more than sum of parts. Principle. Whole is more than sum of parts. Learning. Light initial learning. Sudden understanding. Initial learning. Problem solved suddenly. A trial error. Kohler's team experiment. Sultan use sticks classroom. See relationships pattern structure. Proximity. Continuity closure. Object close together.